Why do gay men struggle with intimacy? Hey guys, Michael Pizzulo here, psychotherapist in West Hollywood. So if you ask most gay men what they're struggling with, they'll usually tell you the same thing, which is they are struggling to find a relationship. They're struggling with dating, intimacy, attachments, finding someone, navigating the apps. And I think there's a clear reason why that is, and there's a conundrum that gay men often find themselves in, which is that they truly struggle with intimacy. So intimacy is basically the concept of how we connect with people. And there can be, physical intimacy, sexual intimacy, but really what I'm going to focus on is emotional intimacy. And I would say, just to give some context, human beings navigating relationships, it's complex. And whether you're gay or straight or whatever it is, that we're all navigating this conundrum of maintaining our autonomy and our separateness while wanting to connect with others. And there's always going to be, a movement towards connection and a movement away from it. And that's perfectly fine, right? But there obviously can be extremes. One can become very avoidant and very isolated, and one can also become enmeshed and codependent. And there's usually a balance in between. But I would just to normalize say that everyone truly is navigating this and figuring out how to form relationships in a way where they can feel connected, but also preserve their independence. Now, gay men, I think in particular, have experienced this feeling as though being intimate wasn't always safe. Why? Because revealing ourselves truly, authentically, and transparently was met with some sort of rejection or shame, or maybe we didn't reveal ourselves authentically, but we knew that if we did, we would have been met with those things. So we're being given this sort of impossible task of, in order to connect, I have to be intimate and vulnerable. But if I do that, I'm likely actually going to get rejected rather than connection. And this can leave, I think, a lot of gay men with a confusion about how to navigate this going forward. And I think most importantly, it's okay to honor wanting to protect yourself and wanting to guard yourself from feeling ostracized or rejected, because those are, very unpleasant experiences that no one wants to have, right? And I think another issue that we often see when we talk about connecting and intimacy is this concept of vulnerability, and that just be vulnerable, just take the risk and be vulnerable. And I would argue that actually there's vulnerability both ways. If you take the risk and go towards intimacy, obviously there's going to be some vulnerability there because you're opening yourself up to being seen and therefore rejected, right? But there's also a lot of vulnerability to isolating yourself. Being alone, you're not going to have social support. You're going to, if you struggle with something, you're not going to have a support system to catch you, just all sorts of things. So the isolation, protects your vulnerability from rejection, but it also invites the vulnerability of being alone. I mean, just, historically, evolution-wise, there's a reason why we connect and we travel in herds and packs, right? It's not just for physical survival, but for emotional stability, we do need other people. So there's vulnerability either way. So I don't think it's as simple as just saying, hey, embrace vulnerability and you'll be fine. Because again, I think that vulnerability is going to show up wherever you go. I think the task is really more about navigating how I'm going to preserve my independence while I embrace being dependent on someone else. Because regardless of the relationship structure, you are embracing some sort of dependence on another person. You're trusting them to meet your needs. You're trusting them to see you. You're trusting them to show up for you. Granted, they don't have to do it perfectly, but there is a lot of dependence that's being elicited through the relationship. And at the same time, you do want to preserve your autonomy and your independent self. That's important too, right? And you have to navigate both. And I think this is complicated for everyone, whether you're gay or straight or whatever kind of relationship you're in, whether it's monogamous, open, polyamorous, anything, that navigating this need for autonomy and connection is just a complicated part of the human experience. But I would say that yes, intimacy is the road that you have to take to get there. And that if you struggle with that, you are going to find yourself, putting up walls, which will lead you to be more isolated and less connected. But I would challenge any assumption that, guarding myself means that I don't have to be vulnerable. Because I think that you're going to find that you are actually very vulnerable, keeping yourself isolated and lonely as well. Because no one's there to protect you. No one's there to regulate you. I mean, we see when we put people into, solitary confinement or deprive them from emotional connection, they truly go into a state of psychosis after a few days. So the need to be around other people, and we saw this a lot during COVID, right, during the lockdowns, the need to be around others and to have others regulate us is very important. And so we're vulnerable with or without human relationships. So again, it makes it more complex, but I think there's more nuance to the idea that simply just avoiding intimacy is a safety mechanism. Because I think that there's safe and risk both ways, but truly I think that gay men can start by acknowledging that any kind of hesitation toward intimacy probably is protective based off of things we've gone through early in life, and you can really honor that part of you that wants to protect you, that had negative experiences and is cautious now moving forward. That's a good part of you. It's a part of you that's discerning and intelligent and has wisdom. But I think the next step, the way to level up and move forward, is recognizing that you don't have to guard yourself as strongly as you did before. And you can probably tolerate the risk and the pain of a rejection if you do allow yourself to embrace intimacy and relationships. Because if you do engage with others and have relationships, it's not a matter of if you're gonna get disappointed, it's a matter of when. It's definitely gonna happen. But it's one of those things where if you avoid relationships altogether, sure, you're not getting the pain, but you're also not getting the reward. And so you really get to decide what's worth it to you. Do you wanna have both or do you wanna have neither? And that's your choice to make. So I hope this was helpful. Would love to hear your thoughts in the comments about why you think gay men struggle with intimacy and how we can, continue the conversation and hopefully help one another out. So thanks, guys.